Well, what's going on, my fat friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Feed Your Fat Face podcast. As you can read down there, I am your host, Aaron, along with my good buddy, Kevin. And
what's happening, fatties?
These are the fat faces you'll be looking at for the next few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're the only ones we got.
Today, we're going to dive in. This week, we're looking at all things steak.
And are we just now doing a steak-only episode?
I honestly don't know. I was thinking about that when we were talking through the episode. I was like, what do you want to talk about next week? And then I was like, we haven't done steak.
It blows my mind because we do steak a lot.
Yeah, it's sort of a staple in our life.
Yeah, in our Hill Powers family dynamic.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into that a little bit today, and we'll get to that. But following up, last week we talked a little bit about barbecue. Did you grill at all in the intervening days? Did you get your grill?
I griddled.
You griddled
a couple times.
I grilled. I did some fajitas on Saturday. That was my birthday meal, so I went out and grilled some beef and chicken fajitas. It was nice to be back at the pit, man.
You don't look worse for the wear.
We've got a lot of I just want to apologize to the fatties if I'm mouth breathing a little bit today. Man, I don't know if it's allergies or I'm getting over some sort of cold, but it's been pretty brutal. I'm gonna try to spare you guys the Darth Vader.
Yeah, I've got it in here.
yeah. How was that?
Well, it's a little like, being at the old folks' home is what it sounds like.
When I laugh like that, I don't know if you heard it, but I sound like somebody smoked a lot of cigarettes for a lot of years.
Yeah, long time.
But that's how my friend's grandma used to laugh.
Hey, you know what? It happens. You've been sick. My daughter got sick, which means my wife and I both got sick.
Yeah, I think it felt like for both houses. I was starting to get sick last Monday when we were recording, and then it sort of, the whole rest of the week was rough, to be honest. But we made it.
Yeah, I had a day. The sick was, it was all right. It wasn't terrible on me, but I'm just old. You just turned 45. I pinched something in my back, sitting down.
Like Tuesday, you're like, I don't even.
It was the smallest little fabric lawn chair for a 4-year-old little girl. Yeah. And I turned to set it down, and I could not stand up. I had to walk my hands up my thighs to push my upper body the whole way up.
That's what happens, man.
And I go to the doctor, and he said, "You're 6'5" and you're 45, so
that happens.
That happens now."
Hey, I have one of those feed your fat face lifestyle questions, and I'd be curious to get the fatties' thoughts on this. Like,
fire away.
Yeah, is it ever okay to call another grown man a clown? I'm trying to decide if I overreacted or not.
My vote is you didn't.
Yeah, so I am the PA and the stadium announcer for Carson's baseball team, the Bandera High School baseball team, and there was an incident last Tuesday night where it led to, so the fans were kind of chirping at me because they thought I played a sound effect too loudly.
The visiting fans.
The visiting fans. Yeah. And so at one point I just told them, I was like, hey, I got it. Y'all just watch the game. And I'm going on about doing it, and a guy in the crowd laughs and is like, "What a clown!"
And that's a trigger word for you.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Cool." So we finished the inning, and the athletic director, who I have since apologized to, but more on that in a minute. But I came out of the sound booth and I walked up to him and I was like, "You're about to have to do some paperwork, my man." And I walked right up to the guy, and I just got right in his face, and I was just like, I'd be really careful before I called another grown man a clown. And he did, to his credit, he did back down. But I went up to the athletic director after the game, and I was like, dude, I'm really sorry. I know that's flesh and that's pride, and I shouldn't have given into that, and I'm sorry. And he was like shaking my hand. He was like, yeah, but you can't call a dude a clown. So... And then the baseball coach was actually like, all I need to know is if you're willing to come back next year, because that's exactly what I'm looking for in a PA announcer. And I was like, well, at least I've got his support. So
hey, that it's always good to know who's in your corner.
Yeah. So anyway, Bree was there. She feels like I probably shouldn't have come out of the booth.
I can see where she would come with that.
I probably shouldn't have come out of the booth. I'll give him that. I probably shouldn't have. So anyway. Anything exciting happen in your world?
No, like I said, my daughter was sick, so there was a lot of snotty nose, and we still went and did some fun things. But no, we kind of, this week was a blur. It just flew by, and
so much so that we were talking right before we came on air. We couldn't remember what we talked about last Monday.
Yeah, 7 days ago.
Yeah, that's bananas. But so let's get ready. Let's get ready to talk some steak. So let's talk first.
Actually, let's do this first because I share every now and then what day it is.
Yeah.
On some of our socials.
Yeah. This is
so there was a picture that goes with one of the, I forget which site I even used to share it from, and so I just click share. You know, everybody having a great prime rib day. I didn't really look at it, but I also didn't take the picture.
Since I responded, have you looked at it?
I did.
Like, I'm right.
It's a bunch of sirloins.
Yeah.
At best.
Oh.
It was.
It's all medium well.
Yeah. Oh, it's overcooked, and it's like 20 bad steaks on the grill.
Yeah. Go look back. You can scroll through our Instagram or our Facebook, and you can find what we're talking about. And by the way, if you looked at that picture and were like, "Dadgum, that looks good," this is not an episode for you.
This isn't your episode.
Yeah, we're gonna call you out.
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple of times, probably.
You know what? Take a break.
Yeah, check us out next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about something you can get on board with.
Yeah, we'll go soft next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk some steak.
Let's talk. What's your favorite go-to?
My go-to is a ribeye.
Yep.
And prime or better.
Yep.
You know, and
which we'll get into some of that in a little bit. But I thought it might be helpful. So you're seeing on the screen now. These are the beef cuts and kind of where they come from. We can share this on social media if I get it to you.
And we'll need to do this a couple of times during this episode.
Yeah, but you can kind of see where everything comes from and what you're looking for. What I've been told is the places that make the best steak are the places that have the least amount of muscle and get kind of like the least amount of work. So that's why like the places where the ribeye comes from that rib section, there's not a lot going on there. And also why like you'll see the difference between the top sirloin versus the bottom sirloin, the tenderloin, those things just have a lot less going on. And that's
why things like shoulder and whatnot require a lot more work to make them.
Just a lot more muscle in there. Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of helpful to know what we're talking about. And we will be able to go back to that throughout the episode. But yeah, I go ribeye. I like them to be around a minimum of an inch thick. Yep.
Man, I'm gonna be drooling on the table by the time this one's over.
And the difference between so for those of you who aren't steak fans, those of you who are steak fans, you can just follow along and agree or whatever. But be proud that you know these things. But the difference is the things that we look for, like what sets the ribeye apart. And the ribeye is widely known as having the most kind of like the richest, they would say like a buttery flavor, which I'll qualify that in a minute. But it's about marbling and it's about fat content in the meat. Now, what most people will misread if you've only ever had, so there are grades of beef when you go to your store. So select being the worst, then choice, then prime, and then up from there you get Wagyu, and then there's like Kobe 15 different grades of Kobe. But a lot of people go, well, I don't like ribeyes because they have big globs of fat in them. What I would tell you is not a good ribeye. Like all ribeyes are going to have a little bit of fat between kind of like the top band and then the eye of the ribeye. But what you're actually looking for in a ribeye is the marbling, and most of that melts away as you're cooking it. It just melts away as like flavor juice going throughout the.
And that's one of the reasons that I prefer cast iron or griddle in my prep method. Is because smoke it, and then I prefer a solid surface to a grill.
Yeah, we'll dive into some technique in a little bit, but I agree with you because what it does, it just quickly sears in, so nothing can kind of leak out.
And when I do it on the griddle, I do with a cover, and so I put an absurd amount of garlic and butter.
Yeah.
And then I cover it, and it just melts.
Kind of infuses.
It just stays in that.
My next favorite would be, for me, would be a New York strip, and that's going to have a thin band of fat around the outside, and it will still have some marbling, but it's a little firmer and denser.
That's your go-to?
That's my number 2. Ribeye is my go-to.
What's your thought? Because I know a lot of people that when they think of steak and they think, well, somebody's treating me and they, whatever, the best thing I can order is the filet.
I mean, it is the most, in whatever grade you're working, it's the most expensive cut you can get.
Right. I don't think it's the best though.
It is,
in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Bree's favorite. It's not my favorite. It is really good. It has. I mean, I will say it has like this really intense, rich beef flavor. One of the things I don't like about it is just the size.
I was going to say, I think that's a reason that women like it. Because Brittany's the same. If she's gonna order a steak, it's usually gonna be a fillet. I think it's because they're this big.
Yeah.
It's just a little. I think it made a great hamburger.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's right as it is. So yeah, I like a fillet, but it's never going to be my go-to. I'm always going to go with the ribeye because you're going to get, in my opinion, the flavor is pretty close, but you're getting a bigger, more fulfilling.
And you're probably getting at least 12, but usually it's closer to 16 ounces or better.
So have you heard, because there have been actually innovations in steak, which is weird, but recently, a few years ago, there was the advent of, became popular what's called a Denver steak. Have you heard of this?
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, so I didn't know where it came from, but so I kept seeing it come up and on things, and I was like, "What? Where?" There was actually like a challenge went out from the Cattlemen's Association to try to find new grillable meat, and so the challenge was actually take a part of the cow that's typically tough and see if you can find something usable in it. And so these guys kind of dug into, and they found this section of the shoulder that you can grill. And it kind of ends up looking like almost like a short rib, I guess. It's kind of long and skinny, and it's got some
it's short rib or a strip or something like that.
Yeah, and I think less than a unique cut, it's more about a way of handling the shoulder. Yeah. So I guess they're still innovating. Yeah. Butchers.
I mean,
these guys.
If somebody else is making it, I'm not going to turn it down, but
I just want to know, later when we talk about Kobe beef, I just want to know, somebody was just like, you know what, that cow needs to be delicious? Beer. What if I drank beer while I ate steak, but I also gave my steak beer?
Yeah, I mean, what if I just raised my steak on beer?
I mean, it's hard to argue with results. I'll just say that. I will just say that. So yeah, anyway. So I looked around. I was just trying to find some beginnings in where did steaks come from, and so it's a little hard to pin down because essentially humans have been eating large meat. Chunks of meat for always.
Well, for as long as they could catch it.
Yeah, right. So what began to change the game was around 8,000 BC was the domestication of cattle.
Yep.
So when the Sumerians and Egyptians began to domesticate cattle for use
for
in their
people
field.
That are bad at math like me, that's 10,000 years ago.
Correct.
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. So yeah, they began to domesticate cattle, and so they would have sometimes excess herds, or when an animal would just get old and want to die, they were like, well, that's a lot of tonnage, and they would they'd find ways to eat it.
Well, maybe.
But the phrase steak, I found, actually first appeared, as I found it, in the 15th century. It was a Scandinavian word, pronounced steak, but spelled S-T-E-I-K. And it just, in their language, it literally translates like a thick hunk of meat for grilling or roasting.
I say we go back to the original spelling.
I like it. I'm here for it. Approved. Fatty approved. So yeah, it was the Scandinavians apparently were the first to sort of take it to another level where they were intentionally picking cuts of meat to roast and to grill over flame.
So a part would be more.
Vikings did everything right, didn't they?
It seems that way.
They sure did conquer things well.
Yeah, it's such great. Yeah,
for a while, and all of a sudden they were like, you know what, we're done. We're tired of that.
Yeah, we're just going to be blonde and smile a lot.
Yeah, and beautiful.
No, that's what I found too. The domestication of cattle started in the Middle East and in the Indian subcontinent, and then
that's a fancy way of saying that.
Yeah,
the Indian subcontinent.
You're
learning things here, fatties.
And then,
it's not just entertainment. You're learning. This is an educational podcast.
Yeah, the Scandinavians, when I looked up that a little deeper, it was they would pick certain things were for certain events or for certain ceremonies, or
so we eat this type of thing
of dinner. Yeah,
in honor of.
Yeah, it's like, here's all your regular, whatever, do it however you want. But then when there were gatherings, they would have certain types of.
In terms of what we sort of know as steak today, the game really changed in about the 18th century, so that's 1700s. For those of you who are century challenged, like I often. So that's when there began to be, and I guess a lot of it had to do with refinement of tools led to advancement in butchery.
Yeah.
And so they're able to start separating out. And so this is the first time where before it was, the cow was just really roughly butchered, and there was a cost of beef, and it didn't matter what the kind was.
Right.
You just got it. Well, they began to. This is where they first begin to realize, like, hey, this. Like we were talking about earlier, this is more desirable for eating from this section.
This end is better than that end.
Correct. Yeah. And so they began. That's where there began to be expensive cuts versus cheaper cuts, and so we're moving then towards what more in line with what we know as steak and butcher.
Yeah, the development of butchery, like you said, in the 1700s was really a big deal, and then the Industrial Revolution that brought on refrigeration,
huge deal,
was the next big jump that I found.
Because the truth is, if you don't have refrigeration, you would only want to slaughter a cow if you've got a lot of people who can benefit from it. So you would have to have lived in a relatively densely populated area.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want more than 4 pounds of ground meat,
as is proved by my refrigerator right now.
And then after that, no country seems to have ever taken it to the lengths of the Americas.
In terms of the way we butcher?
Yeah, not just the way we butcher, but just steak culture in general.
Yeah. And as I saw, that was kind of late 18th, early 19th century.
Yeah.
We'd start to see steakhouses pop up, and it becomes an experience.
If you do like I did, and you go back and you look at some of the old steakhouses, just the salad bar in the middle, the only place that bought kale was the salad bars, and steakhouse, like real steakhouse. I just remember going to steakhouses with my granddad.
Mm-hmm. The wood paneling.
Yes.
I don't know if this is going to gross out our younger audience,
or
but
green.
The smell of cigar or cigarette smoke in the air because there was a smoking section. Yeah, man.
Yes. And so I got kind of nostalgic going through that part of it.
Yeah, that was a big time. I always just kind of think like the world is lucky that I wasn't the first butcher, because there's no chance that I would have like tasted ribeye and been like, y'all should get some. I'd be like, that part's not good. Y'all should give this part to me. Y'all would have thought that all there was like tail and shoulder. That's the only
cheek and
right. I would have been super selfish. So the fact that these guys are like, man, this is delicious. Let me share this with people. They're a better dude than me.
Well, like you said, you can only have so much of it.
Did you always like steak, or was there a period of time in your life when you were like,
No, there was never a period of time where I was indifferent. So I always preferred.
I'm going to be honest, man. Growing up, my dad was like a medium well to well done steak guy.
Oh.
I know. And he's been liberated. He found the Lord. My dad's been saved.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, man.
But it was so, what's the word I'm looking for, man?
Bad.
Yeah, it was so. I found we would go eat at these places, and we were poor, so the places we were eating, it's not like we were going to a high quality steakhouse to begin with. We're at like Ryan's Steakhouse with the buffet and all that.
Bro, I had many a steak at Ryan's Steakhouse.
For sure, yeah.
And they used to do defensive driving at Ryan's
so
Steakhouse, so I had a lot of those too.
That one on Nacogdoches Road.
Yes.
So he would order them, and they would come out, and I remember actually dreading steak, and I would have to put so much ketchup on it to make it palatable.
I'll never forget, or whatever.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time. I wish I remember who it was, but that I tasted a bite of like medium,
like well done steak, like correctly
done steak. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like it was mind altering. So. But yeah, for a long time, I was just like, this isn't my jam.
So of the rare, medium, medium well, medium well and well should just be off the table. Those should be illegal. You're a medium rare guy. Am I right?
Oh, I would be more rare.
More rare?
Yeah. I don't even necessarily always need it to be warm.
So you would go Chateaubriand.
Sure, or
which
like
is
black and blue,
super sear.
Yep,
and that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm ordering at a fancy, like at a legit, I'm talking like Fleming's, Morton's, Bohannon's, I would order rare plus.
Okay.
So yeah, I like it on the redder side of medium rare.
Yeah, a little bit of fight left in it.
A little bit of fight left. Yep. My wife, I've been able to get her down to medium.
Okay,
but that's as far as she can go.
I've done the same.
So
moving on.
Yeah. So in the United States alone, I read. So we are 50 billion pounds of beef consumed annually, and steak accounts for nearly 20% of that consumption. And the average American eats 50 pounds of beef a year, is what I saw.
Well, I'm well above average then.
Well above average. I might have eaten 50 pounds this week. But where would you guess on the rank of beef? And you may have fallen across this.
I didn't come on this
Yeah,
one.
I was stunned to believe or to find out that we rank number 4 in beef consumption.
Really?
Yeah.
Brazil?
Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay.
Okay,
All
not surprised.
eat us.
Not surprised then. Because they have diets that are, they don't have a lot of carb stuff in their diet anyway. So it's mostly meat.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was just surprised. I would have thought we were a little higher than that. What would you guess top steak consuming states? Top 5.
Top 5 would be Texas, the Carolinas, North Carolina at least, New York.
I'm just gonna let you keep going.
Nebraska, and South Dakota.
Okay, you got 2.
Okay, what did I get?
You got Texas and you got Nebraska. So Texas obviously is number 1. I mean, and that's not me being like a braggadocious, but like that is our, like, we're like, we eat red meat and we kill things. That's what Texas is.
Yeah, well, I mean, the majority of the places where cows are slaughtered and whatnot's in North Texas. So
Yep.
Or
Which
it
will
was.
tie in. Number 2 is Oklahoma.
Okay.
This is where it gets surprising. Missouri is number 3.
Really? Okay, that does surprise me.
Nebraska is number 4. And then rounding out the top 5 is New Mexico.
Interesting.
Yeah, I found that really interesting.
That's
I think of New Mexico as a pork state.
well, yeah, pork and chicken.
So they do a lot of green chili
A lot of yard
stuff.
bird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you had to guess by steakhouse order, most popular cuts of steak.
Oh man. So let's see. The cuts are. I'm going to say porterhouse, T-bone, strip, fillet, and ribeye. Is that the ones we're talking?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go with porterhouse, ribeye, strip, T-bone, fillet.
You got 4 out of the 5, and I'm gonna say I'll give you an extra guess, and I'll explain why. So name one more that you would guess.
Sirloin.
Yeah. So porterhouse T-bone are technically a cut.
Sure.
The porterhouse just has more left.
More
on,
of both.
More left on it.
Yeah.
So the top ordered is the tenderloin or the filet mignon. The second
That's
most
the top ordered?
Yeah.
At a steakhouse.
At like by the beef suppliers. Yeah.
I'm actually shocked by that.
But in other parts of the country, like people put a value on eating less, and so not everybody's feeding their fat face, Kev. We've got work to do.
There are people missing out.
There are people missing out,
And it is our personal
and
mission.
it's not that the tenderloin's not good,
right.
It's just that they're better.
It's a steak nugget.
Yeah. You'll be equally surprised to find out that number 2 is the New York strip or the Kansas City strip. Those are the same cut. Just Kansas City is the only place in the country that calls it the Kansas City strip.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of like, I mean, come on, Kansas City. It clearly didn't work. Just
You're not Texas.
join the party.
Yeah.
3 is the ribeye. The top sirloin is number 4, and then the porterhouse rounds out the top 5.
Man.
So what's funny to me is that the porterhouse would rank that low when it is outperformed by the filet and the New York strip, which is what the porterhouse is.
Right.
I'm like, I can get both. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
No. Okay. I'm blown away.
We already talked about this scientifically. The most flavorful is the ribeye, and that's just because of the marbling throughout. The filet does have a really heavy, beefy flavor, but it's not. It's not the most. It's just not the most flavorful.
No, I wouldn't. The two main ways that steak is kind of prepped is dry age or wet age.
Correct.
Do you partake in both? Do you have a preference?
I mean, they both produce really good steaks. I most commonly eat wet aged. Dry aged, like the first time you eat if you were to buy an unprepared dry aged steak and cook it yourself,
You're probably going to ruin it.
the first time you do it, you're going to gross yourself out.
Yep.
Because it's essentially been rotting for
Well, sure.
the outside of it.
Yeah.
You cut the rotten parts off and
You eat what's in the middle.
you can dry age in your fridge.
Apparently, the dry age is supposed to
it breaks down. It makes it a lot more tender, right?
Bring it out. Yeah, make it more tender. And it's supposed to bring out flavors that are nutty, earthy, and robust earthy
Nutty
flavors.
is the word that I was going to use.
The wet age is to intensify the natural beef flavors.
Okay. Most of what you buy at the grocery store is wet aged.
Yep.
H-E-B, though, they now have dry aging cabinets in all of their stores.
Yes, they do.
It just looks raunchy, dude.
Better than everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, you have to know.
I will. One thing I wanted to clarify for anybody who says, "Well, I can't eat the red meat because it's bloody and it's gross." Like, stop calling it bloody. It's not blood.
Yeah, it's not.
It is not blood. The red liquid is a mixture of water and a protein called myoglobin. Myoglobin is responsible for the release of oxygen into the muscle cells of the animal. It is actually what gives the flesh its color, but it's not blood. No. The animal has been drained of all of its blood.
Yep.
Toughen up, Buttercup. It's not. You're not eating blood. You're eating myoglobin.
Or get some saute like we had the other night. Onions and mushrooms and whatnot. It makes a nice juice,
or at least now you're informed. You can be like, "Oh, I can't eat rare meat because I just can't stand the sight of myoglobin."
Myoglobin.
Yeah. This was an interesting fact. Listen to this. Health alert, fatties.
Oh.
Well done steak is not just gross. It's actually scientifically unhealthy for you.
Of course it is.
Ordering a steak well done not only ruins the quality of the cut, it also poses health risks. Overcooking meats leads to a chemical reaction that forms potentially carcinogenic compounds.
Yes.
It tends to be drier and less flavorful, but yeah, it is actually.
So I'm not just making fun of people.
I mean, we are also making fun of people.
We are also.
Yeah.
But now I can say that it's for your health.
Do you know currently the cost per pound of Kobe beef?
I don't.
So it ranges between $200 to $500 a pound. Right now, Japanese A5 Kobe, which is so they rank. It's a number system of like. There's 15 possible grades with like C1 being the lowest grade and A5 being the highest. And A5 is just under like $489 a pound right now. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. So the Kobe beef is from Wagyu cattle, specifically the Wagyu cattle raised in Kobe, Japan.
Right, because there's a method. Is that right?
Yes, and it's renowned for tenderness and flavor.
And
at that price, I'm not going to find out.
If you know, once you know the process, not only will you only want to eat, you'll want to be a Kobe beef cow.
Yeah,
they like
pampered.
Massage the cow.
Yeah.
They feed it beer. It sounds like a pretty great life.
Yeah, I mean, a few years of that. You're like, all right, check me out.
Yeah, I'll be pretty well marbled as well.
Isn't that the truth?
Do you know that Wagyu beef only represents like 0.25% of U.S. beef sales?
Oh, it's got to be tiny.
I knew it was going to be small. I thought it would be higher than that. Like I thought it would be trending up because it seems like it's been really become a thing lately.
No, because I think that some of the cattle have been spread around, but the method of raising the cattle has not. And so you're able to label some things Wagyu that are not Kobe. And so you can do that. And some of that Wagyu, it's not bad meat, but it's not $500 a pound.
No,
$500 a pound.
I mean, all right. So you guys know Kevin and I are both Christ followers, and so what I'm about to say, like, there's a point where that's just like that's a stewardship issue. Like, I'm gonna have to give an account for that someday, and the Lord's gonna be like, you spent $500 on a pound of steak, bro. Like, it just at some point it feels like it can't be good enough.
We should try it once, though.
I don't know, man. I was gonna say if somebody else but
I couldn't order that on somebody else's ticket.
Fresh off of like, there's been my ministry field in Haiti has been hot lately, and so my head is very much on like, do you know how many Haitians I can feed with $500?
That's true.
So I don't know. Catch me at a time when things are a little less, but
when things have calmed down.
There is a part of me though that I get what you're saying because I'm kind of like. I almost want to try, like, can it be that? I've had Wagyu.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so Wagyu, so if you're not familiar, like if you were to go to HEB right now and you're like, I want a I want a ribeye. You would go to the meat case, and a prime ribeye, you're going to be like mid-20s per pound, $24.99 a pound. And a Wagyu, you're going to be like $34 to $38.99 a pound. So I'm like, what? You're talking about a jump of $400.
Yeah.
Like, how much better can it be? If you've had, and don't miss me with Wagyu, I'm talking about like,
true
like
Kobe,
true
A5,
certified A5 Kobe. If you've actually had it, and I'd almost say I'm going to need a picture to prove it.
Why do
because
I feel
if
like
you've eaten it, you've taken a picture of it.
Why do I feel like I know of the people I know, the ones who could say they've had it?
Yeah,
at the price point is what I mean.
I would just want to know.
Yeah, I mean,
because if you get so $485 a pound, and you buy a 12-ounce ribeye, you're talking about a $350 steak.
Yeah.
Dadgum, dude. I don't know.
Do you have a preference when it comes to like grass-fed, grain-fed?
Not really. No, I have actually. If I'm being honest, HEB's Prime 1, which is not grass-fed, is better than their grass-fed. Okay. So I guess in that regard, I would go. Grain-fed is fine.
I think the last couple of times I've gotten steaks, I've gone to that butcher shop over by Sophia's.
Yep.
And so I mean,
whatever they have,
I've had what he's selling.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not enough for me that I would like make a point to order one or the other.
Okay. All right.
I just want it to be good, dude. Let's talk methods. What's your preferred method of preparing?
The reverse sear.
And you already said you're a griddle or a cast iron
came
guy.
Into my life, that's my go-to. And the only downside to that is it has made it near impossible for me to order a steak anywhere else.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, so the reverse sear, you take your steak, and we want to go. You guys met him during the Meadows episode. Big hat tip to Austin Lane. Austin's the guy who introduced me to this. But you take the steak and you you fire up your smoker, and you can use whatever wood you want. I usually use pecan. But you get your smoker going, and you put the steak in the smoker. So I already told you I like my steaks like rare. So I'm going to be pulling my steak off like 125 degrees. So I'm probably going to let it smoke till it gets like 110 internal. Pull it out, and then you finish it either in a cast iron or on a Blackstone or something like that. Yeah. But it allows it takes that first time, it just takes on all the flavor from the smoke, but then you still get that seared char on the outside.
Yeah,
That's probably my favorite too.
I don't know that you can beat it. Like I just don't.
I was for a long time just a fan of just charcoal grilling a steak out on the grill, and it's still good, but it's not the same.
Well, I think charcoal is if you're just talking about a grill.
Yeah.
So grates the whole thing. If you're just talking about a grill, charcoal or wood, or a combination thereof is obviously number one.
What I look for specifically in a charcoal grill, though, on that front, is I want to be able to get the coals really close because the sear matters.
Yeah.
Even when I'm charcoal grilling.
Absolutely.
When I do charcoal grill, I baste in butter. One, it helps it sear better, but two, it imparts flavor.
It's like butter.
It is butter. It's butter.
And then would be anything else, gas, electric, whatever.
Yeah, don't broil steaks though. Like, don't cook a steak in an oven.
Well, not with a broiler.
You can finish a steak in an oven. Yeah, I wanted to make that because that is completely not just acceptable but encouraged. If you get a cast iron really hot, you can like boom like on a thicker steak, and then throw it in the oven as hot as you can get it.
You can sear the ring and then both sides, and then
don't turn your broiler on, but get your oven, like my oven goes to 550. Get it preheated to 550. Then you hit the first side, like Kevin said, you get the ringer on the outside, and then as soon as you flip it to the other side, you transfer it into the oven, and the bottom side will still get that crisp, and then the heat of the oven will cook it to your desired consistency. So that's a good way to
if you're going to a lot of steakhouses, especially like the Gordon Ramsays, all that, that's how they make steak.
Yeah.
They're not back there with.
That's what Ruth's Chris is, right? It's like a 1600 degree oven.
Yeah.
So of the big steakhouses, I'll be honest. Ruth's Chris is probably my least favorite of the big dogs, and here's why. There's two reasons why, in my multiple experiences there, why I would rate them low. One, they bring it out on the platter that they cooked it at 1600 degrees in.
Yeah.
and it splatters. So
yeah,
you get it on your shirt, but it also continues to cook.
Yep.
So a rare plus steak on first bite is medium to over
by the time
you're done. And so I'm like, that's not what I'm about, man.
So I looked up like the I don't know, top 25 U.S. steak restaurants. The top two, one's in Brooklyn, one's in New York City. Peter Luger Steakhouse and Keen's.
I've heard of Peter Luger's,
but Ruth's Chris was 6. It was the highest ranking like national.
Yeah,
chain.
I just disagree with it.
Quickly followed by Capitol Grill, which I also was like
ones that of the fancy steakhouses that I've had, things that I would rate above it. I think Fleming's is better. They're a chain. And when you were in North Texas or in Oklahoma, did you ever eat at is it Del Frisco's Golden Eagle?
Yeah,
their steaks are really good.
Yeah,
the
they
Del
are.
Monaco steak.
They do a fantastic steak. Yeah, I actually
want to eat at Kraft Brothers. Tom Colicchio from Top Chef.
Okay.
He has one in Vegas, one in New York. He has Kraft Brothers that I've heard is incredible for steaks.
Yeah, several of these, and their additions over the last about 5 or 6 years have Vegas locations.
Yeah.
So it's like New York and Vegas, or Chicago and Vegas.
Who are some of the other tops that, like, what are some of the names of the restaurants?
There's a Porterhouse, New York, Prime and Provisions in Chicago, Brennan's of Houston.
Oh, I've heard of Brennan's. I've never been in there.
I've never been there either, but that's one we're gonna have to check out. House of Prime Rib in San Francisco.
That Houston one, that'll have to be a fatty expense to trip.
It ought to be. We ought to do that. Burns Steakhouse in Tampa, Florida. So there's some. There's one in Minneapolis, a place called Manny's. Indianapolis, St. Elmo's. So hit us with a comment. Let us know where's the best steak you've ever had out, and then how does steak out compare to steak that you make? Like, I don't know. I think Aaron's in the same boat I am.
It has to be pretty spectacular.
The steak I make at home beats everywhere around here.
Yeah, it's hard for me to justify spending what restaurant prices currently are because of how much I like my steak at my house.
Yeah, yeah. I like my steak at your house too.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, that's
a good. Well, you found some interesting days.
Yeah, we got some days happening today, and some days that are coming up. Today, actually, as we were going through this, I told Aaron, I was like, I didn't even know it, but today's my day. Today is Military Brats Day, which I grew up as one of those, and it is also National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day.
Oh, which is very close to your heart.
Which I have 5 of those.
You do.
So yeah,
varying sizes
of a huge.
You've kind of gone each of the sizes.
Yeah, I've got both extremes for the most part, and it's also National Oatmeal Cookie Day. So it's truly my day.
This is a good day for you.
Yeah. We got some days coming up. Nothing earth shattering.
And will you do a better job at policing the pictures this time before you post any days?
I will. I
mean, for crying out loud, we pay for that Canvas subscription for a reason, Kev.
Tomorrow is National Rotate Your Beer Day.
That's good to know.
And National Rhino Day.
I don't eat rhino.
Scurvy awareness, so get some citrus,
Get you some citrus
on Wednesday or on Thursday. And Day of Reason, so try to think things through. It's also National Truffle Day. But yeah, just some days coming up, and I'll be throwing some of these on the socials.
We also wanted to update you. We are working on doing another, again, like we said last time, we really enjoyed our time at the Meadows. We have worked out some of the sound issues. It'll be much better. But we're working on getting another in-person. Our goal is to add to the regular rotation, highlighting some hill country, locally owned restaurants and eateries that we can go in and kind of get their story, try their food, let you guys know about them and get to meet them. We have reached out to, there is in Helotes a barbecue spot called B Daddy's. They recently opened up on Main Street, on the corner of Main Street and Bandera. And so I've reached out to them, and we're trying to get something worked out where we can get in and kind of hear their story and get to know some barbecue. So, but yeah, if you've got places you think we need to try, again, we're avoiding chains, so look locally owned places.
Yeah, we're not hitting Applebee's.
Yeah, no matter how many free wings they give us. So
no, gosh, no.
Hey, as always, we just want to ask you guys, it means a lot to us that you tune in, but it helps us out so much if you can like and share the podcast wherever you're at. So just take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let them know where to find us.
It doesn't hurt you. It helps us.
It definitely helps us. And so we got a lot more good stuff coming up in the weeks to come, but it's grill season, Kevin, so I know you need to let them know what to do.
Keep your grills hot and your beers cold.
All right, fatties, we'll see you next week.
Is that even beer?
It's not.